Everyone, welcome to the first edition of this webinar where we're going to be showing how you can use AI to break workflows down into small AI tools that can become part of a larger workflow. So the first thing you need to know, which I'm sure some of you have probably seen before if you're interested in AI. So let me just share my screen. So the first thing you need to know about is these tools in ChatGPT called custom GPTs. So these are essentially versions of ChatGPT that someone has instructed to work in a very specific way, and you can do this for a specific task or for something more general. But what we focus on is making them really, really specific, because that's when they start to perform really well at doing tasks that they're very focused on. The more you give to an AI to do at once, the less the quality will be, because it's not focused on that one thing. I mean, much like a human, if you give them a huge task to do and say, like, write an essay, do it straight away, they're not going to give you very good results. Whereas if you say, okay, write the introduction, focus on that, then write the middle part, and then write the end, that's going to be a much more structured and better way to work. And it's very much the same with AI. So just to introduce what these GPTs are that I'm talking about, I'm going to show kind of a very basic use case of them, and yeah, something that everyone can understand. So we've been showing this one for a long time, and it resonates with a lot of people, so that's why we show it. So you can call a GPT that you've created by using the @ symbol, and you can start typing the name of it. So if I say, invoice extractor, so this GPT, the Harness AI invoice extractor, accepts invoices and then outputs the details from the invoice in a table that I can use to then add to my spreadsheet that has all of my invoices in. So I'll attach some files, so I can attach a bunch of invoices at once. Say you're an accountant and people keep sending you expense invoices. That can be an annoying process to go through manually and input all of those details. So I can just attach them. I don't even have to type anything into ChatGPT. I can just hit enter, and it goes away and starts processing those invoices for me. So let's just wait a second for that to do it. It's using its thinking mode, which is best to have switched on when you're using anything that's kind of data driven, because it makes sure that it gets the information right. So you can see we get a table, and then we can copy that table, and then if we wanted, we can go into a spreadsheet and just copy paste that into there. And that's a much faster way of inputting data than the manual way where we go through each file at a time. So just to show you how these are created, so in ChatGPT, if you come to this on the sidebars, you have GPTs, projects, and chats. If you go to GPTs, click explore, this opens up kind of an app store for these GPTs, and there is literally millions of these GPTs that people have created, and you can search through. But really where these become really useful is when you create your own. So you have this My GPTs button, you can see all the ones you've created already, like this. They also appear in your sidebar, and you can choose which ones show up there. But what's really powerful is this create button. So you can you open this up and you come to where you can actually create these GPTs. So there's a create and a configure tab. Ignore the create tab. We always recommend to use configure, because that's where you can define it yourself and you have a lot more control over how the GPT is created, rather than just trusting the AI to create it for you. It's better that you are in control of creating it, and when you want to come and fix it and make changes, you know everything that's been written, so you can actually know how you need to change the prompt in the future. So you can add a picture, a name, a description, instructions. This is the most important part, where you define exactly how it's going to behave and what it should do. And then conversation starters, these are like buttons, so you could just add like start, and then you can click that instead of typing a message. knowledge, which is where you can upload different files, and then it has access to those files using retrieval augmented generation. And we'll get onto that later in one of the examples. Then, yeah, you can choose which model it's using and capabilities. If you're doing anything with data, make sure to turn on code interpreter, because then it can write code and execute that code to analyze stuff for you, which is very powerful. So to show you what one of these looks like when it's been filled out, so I'll go back to the invoice extractor, since that's what we just saw in action. If I click here, I can say edit GPT, and you can see we have the name, description, and instructions all filled out. So this is just a really simple one. In reality, since this is just a demo, in reality, these get a lot more complex. Like, we've created one of these specific invoice extractors for a client, and the reality of all the different columns that they were interested in made it much more complex, and we had to add a lot of details. And there's a lot of back and forth in creating these GPTs. So normally when you first create one, it will do kind of an all right job, but you'll see there's mistakes, and you come back to the prompt and make those changes, which is something we teach people how to do, is to go through that process. And the iterative process of developing these is like fairly easy to learn, but it's definitely a learning process. And there's a lot of frustrations if you don't have the guidance to go and create those. So now I want to get into how we can use these GPTs and chain them together to create a whole workflow where we're involved in it. So I'm sure you've heard of agents, and there's many out there that will like manage your social media. They'll create posts and draft them and then post them. And that is a little bit dangerous, and we don't ever recommend doing that, because yes, it will make loads of posts, but the quality of those posts won't be great, and there isn't a human in the loop checking at each stage, like, is this what we want to talk about? Is this statistic what we want to write about? Is this the exact way we want to word this post? And having someone look at each output of along the way results in much better quality. But still, using AI in this way, I'm going to show you, can speed up and streamline that process whilst still keeping you very involved. So the first GPT we're going to use in this chain of creating, so in this case, it's for 𝗁𝗂, so our company creating LinkedIn posts. So first, we need something to post about. And I could skip this step if I already have something to post about, or if I'm looking for inspiration, I can use this news finder, and I can just say start. It will go away and find a bunch of news articles, and I've given it behind the scenes in those instructions we saw. I've told it exactly what we're looking to do, what we're looking to achieve on LinkedIn, what our goals of the company are, and what makes a good article for us to post about. So we get 3 articles here. Well, I know we have 5. So we can read through these, and if we want more, we can say, just go and find more. But for the sake of time, let's just pick one. So how Gemini can create more time. Skills first or get left behind. Okay, so designing AI agents is becoming a new workplace superpower. Let's choose that. So I can highlight, well, so I can go check out this link, see the article, see if I think it's like a respectable source, if it's something I actually want to post about. So it's got some nice stats there as well, so we can use those in our post. So if I highlight this, and then click Ask ChatGPT, that kind of tags it into the conversation and highlights that piece of context. So now, so I'm currently talking to the 𝗁𝗂 news finder. I'm going to switch that out. So click X there, and then I'm going to say at news analyst. So analyze this article. So this news analyst is one that will go and read the article and then give us key insights that we could potentially post about. And we want to post about data, so we've told it, give us an insight and then the supporting data from within the article, because people obviously like to see actual data rather than random opinions. So designing AI agents is emerging as a critical future skill. We can read through this. And we see we've got some nice statistics there. Companies adopting AI literate teams report productivity gains of 20 to 30%. So cool. Let's write a post about this. So again, we can highlight it, come down here, and we can switch out to a new GPT. So let's say post writer. Oh. So we've got the 𝗁𝗃 AI post writer, write post about this. And when I say this, it knows that I'm talking about the piece I've highlighted because I highlighted it. So I send that off, and our post writer has already been given examples and a writing style guide of how we want it to actually write our posts, how many emojis to include, whether we want how we want our hooks to look, and just examples of how we normally write. So we've got 3 posts there. The reason we ask for 3 is it's much quicker to get it to create 3 separate posts than it is to just create 1. And then we see the 1 post and we're like, oh, I hate that post, I'm gonna have to get it to regenerate. But from here, we can kind of compare which one we like. And we can even go further than that. So we've got those 3 posts. I can actually tag in so a member of our target audience that we've created as a GPT. So we have Sarah, the decision maker, and we can ask her which post speaks to you and why. And yeah, that gives us kind of a bit of insight into how our customer thinks. We created kind of our ideal customer profiles and then turned one of those into a GPT. And you could do this for all your different ICPs and, you know, get feedback on anything. Obviously, it doesn't replicate a real life focus group or input from actual customers, but it's still useful to get you inspired about thinking slightly differently and breaking out of your own thinking, especially if there's no one there available for you to talk to at the time. One of the great things about AI is that it's always available. So it's saying post 2, we could use that. We can say open post 2 in Canvas. And then from there, we can make edits to it ourselves. So if we click edit, Canvas is a great feature. It's basically like a Word document editor within ChatGPT. And yeah, so let's say you want to remove the M dashes, which is a common thing everyone wants to remove from AI posts. Personally, I'm very sad about the demise of the M dash and the way it's been received. It's kind of ruined the M dash as a piece of punctuation. But yeah, it's for everyone to decide for themselves. Okay, so I want to move on to the next type of workflow and how you can work, and I'll do this in Copilot because I know a lot of people have access to Copilot at work on the free plan, and you can create these agents in Copilot on your work account for free. You just need your IT team to turn them on if they're not already turned on. So if you come into Microsoft 365, you'll come to the search page. If you go to chat, you're already talking to Copilot. And down here, you have all agents and create agents. So if I click all agents again, you'll see it's like an app store for all these agents. And these are exactly the same as custom GPTs. They've called them agents, even though they're not really agents in the technical definition of the word. But you have to blame Microsoft for that one. If we click create agent, again, you can see a very similar form to fill out to create these agents. It's exactly the same process. Again, you have instructions and knowledge, which are the most important parts, name and description as well. But what I wanted to show with this one is, so you can use agents a bit like projects. So we also have projects in ChatGPT, and this is a similar place to what I'm going to show, where you can add documents and information about a specific client or about a specific project that you're working on. In this case, for us, it's a way we actually use it quite often, is we put all of our email communications, all of our proposals and contracts and terms and conditions into an agent, and then we can talk to it and it knows all of the information. So all of the historical information. If we kind of put a pause on a client and we're not working with them for a while, then we come back and we've forgotten all the information. To retrieve the important information that we need becomes very easy because we have this agent set up or project in ChatGPT. So let's just show how this works. We've attached some dummy proposals and call transcripts and email chains and contracts into this GPT just to show how it works and how we use it. So as an AI consultancy, we're often creating these types of agents for people, and that's usually how we start our processes, with a proposal and then a discovery call where we figure out exactly what agents the company is going to need. So let's say we can use the dictation, which is a really nice way to work with AI as well. Well, let me do this in chat actually. So say at Jeff client. So what agents have been suggested to be created for Jeff and Co? So it's going to go through all the documents that we have and check out what the answer to my question should be. So it looks like it's found some. So we've got these three that were suggested in our discovery call, and also one that was included in the initial proposal. So this invoice extractor, let's carry on with that theme. So it was suggested by Catherine Jenkins, and I can't remember who she is, so I'm going to ask who is Catherine Jenkins, and it will look through and see what information we have about her. Like often if you're putting emails in here, on their signatures, it has kind of their roles and what they do, which can be useful. Okay, so she's a marketing and communications manager. She was selected as one of the champion users on 29th of October for representing content and social workflows. So let's talk to her about, or let's figure out all the information that we have about this invoice extractor, because we're going to need to request information about how they use their invoices now, so we can create them an invoice extractor specifically for them. So let's say, can you give me all of the information you have related to the invoice extractor idea? Okay, so it tells me where the idea came from. what information is included in the invoices. They receive supplier invoices. Okay, so now I'm going to want to create an email, and this is something we always do. We have to create emails requesting resources for different agents from different members of the teams that are responsible for them. So we created an agent that does that for us. So we have our client resource requester, and I can say, write an email to request the resources for the invoice extractor using the context above. And so this resource requester knows exactly how we normally format these, and that we break the resources into input data. So this is things that the user, every time they use it, will be inputting. So in this case, it would be the new invoices that need to be turned into a table, and example outputs, which is essentially the ideal output. So for a report, this could be an ideal report that they see as like the golden standard, or in the case of these invoice extraction tools, it could be an example table that they have with the fields, and also the filled out fields, so we can differentiate between the different columns in the table. So it's asking me what I'd like them to provide. I'm just going to say all of it, please. Yeah, I can't help being polite to AI. It's just so deeply ingrained in me. And I also don't want to end up on the list for when AIs eventually take over the world. I don't want to be on the list of humans that were mistreating them. So yeah, I can create this email, and hopefully you can see how you could have different agents for different types of emails with different contexts of what you want to send in that email. So if in your role you're working on something where you're always requesting or creating emails of a very similar structure or for a similar purpose, you could create an agent that writes those emails for you based on historic ones you've sent, and then you just input kind of the variable data for each email. So it's like kind of a much more advanced version of templating emails. Yeah. So for the final flow, I'm going to jump back to ChatGPT, and this is about communications, and again, how you can chain together these GPTs. So for this one, we're going to imagine we're kind of a transformation manager. So as a transformation manager, we have to communicate changes to a whole business, and usually with different groups, you have to communicate in very different ways. So let's take the example of, we have a new AI policy. So I'm just going to attach the AI policy that we've created for this. And then I'm going to say, we have a new AI policy. And that's all I need to put, because this communication strategist has already been told, go away and analyze the different groups and how we need to communicate this to the different people. Can some of the communications be shared across groups, or do they have to all be separate? So we have our audience group, and then can the message be shared? So no, with this one, we're going to need to communicate to these different groups differently. It says, does it need a distinct focus? Yes. Then what is the purpose of those? Then it gives us a bit about how sensitive we need to be in these, and how careful we need to be with the communication. Obviously, for an AI policy, it's going to be a little bit sensitive because some people are kind of nervous of AI. But whereas if it was something like company restructuring, that would be very high level of sensitivity. So it's going to ask, do I want to know a bit more about how each group should be spoken to? Yes, go ahead. Because before we go ahead and create messaging, we want as much context as possible of how we should talk to each of these groups on this specific topic. So yeah, we have details about how we can talk to each one and the key points that need to be brought across. Then I can switch out and start talking to a C-suite communication writer, which is specifically for writing communications to the C-suite. So it has in there examples of our historic ways of communicating with the C-suite, so that it's able to copy that style and create emails in a similar style, an appropriate style for them. So I'll say, write the comms for the C-suite. Yeah, straight away that'll write me up an email. Obviously, in reality, you're going to probably do more than just an email. Like there might be slides and like presentations to the C-suite that are going to be like they need to be on board with any major new policy and know what they need to be saying. So we can add create slides for a 30-minute priming session for the C-suite on the policy. So we can create a set of slides and kind of a draft for how we could communicate this to them. And we could go away and use another app like Gamma or something to create the actual slides. I wouldn't recommend using ChatGPT to create slides. It creates pretty ugly slides, to be honest. Yeah. So once we're done creating that, we can obviously go and focus on creating those slides. But now we can come back and say, we can switch out again our GPT, and we have our general employee communications writer, and say, write the comms for general employees. And it'll go away and write us something that will make sense and give us that first draft that we can then go and edit. We can use Canvas to edit it or go away into our emails. But yeah, hopefully you can see the point of what I'm trying to show you, which is breaking down your regular processes into different GPTs that you can chain together and switch out. And you'll find that as you do that, many of these GPTs are reusable across different workflows that you have. Like if you have one that has all of the context around a specific group of people that you're always working with, that's going to apply to a lot of the tasks that you're working on with that group of people. Instead of having to write up a prompt that contains all of that context every time, using these GPTs, having them ready to go, can just massively speed up the way that you work. So yeah, thanks for joining. I just want to say the reason we do these sessions is because as a business, we create these tools for businesses, and then we also run training programs of how to create them for yourselves. So we usually start by creating one of these workflows that is applicable to a lot of people in your business. Then from there, we use that in the training to demonstrate how we built it, get buy-in from people of how useful these tools can be. And then we have a practical session where we get your employees creating these tools for themselves while we're in the room to help show them exactly how that's done and remove the frustrations that most people face when they're first creating these, because I'm sure if you've spent much time using AI, sometimes it can get really frustrating. But having someone there who knows what they're doing makes it a lot less frustrating and a lot more successful in the long run. But yeah, if you like the session, please share with other people. And also, if you can leave a comment on the LinkedIn event, that would be really helpful as well. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? Just before we wrap up, feel free to unmute.